I move to motion number 6 on the agenda, the housing emergency, to be proposed by Hector Macleod, one of our candidates, and second by Derek Tulloch. Hector Macleod, welcome. We've been jealously following your campaign and your campaigners.
Good afternoon, conference. Can I start by thanking you and the party to allow me to make a childhood dream of performing at Hampden a reality. It's not quite the World Cup winning penalty, but it's up there. Conference, the situation Scotland has found itself in with housing is shameful and diabolical. Far too many people are living on the streets and worse, dying on the streets due to a lack of affordable housing. We are also losing many communities, cultures and languages, with many being forced to leave rural areas as a result of often being outpriced of properties and no long-term lets available. Conference, all over Scotland, housing is an issue. I believe this motion's 3 calls can be the beginning to address this. The motion's first call is a public register of second homes and homes used for short-term lets be created in order to identify settlements and districts where there are particular pressures. Before I go further, I'd like to make note of 2 things. Firstly, I don't have an issue with anyone who has or can buy a second home. If they're in that position, then it's their right to do so. What I do have an issue with is areas continuing to allow second homes in areas which causes people in those areas unrealistic chances of getting first homes. Secondly, I believe there's 2 categories when we talk of short-term lets. In the first category, you have people who live in the area and are running a B&B or a self-catering for a modest income, or someone who has a family home they wish to keep in the family for children or grandchildren returning back to the area, so they let it out short term. The second category, I believe you have people who buy up a property to add to their chain of B&Bs and self-caterings, or someone not from the area who just buys a property as a business venture or opportunity. The motion's second call of action is that where pressured areas are identified by the register, all legal and proportionate measures will be employed by local authorities to increase affordable housing supply. The main part of this that I like is that measures will be employed by local authorities. Conference, housing won't be solved with a blanket approach across Scotland. It needs to be different for local authorities to suit their needs in their local areas. We'll solve the housing situation differently up in Skye as to how we'll solve it in Glasgow. We'll solve it differently in Thurso as to how we'll solve it in Edinburgh. The final call of action we call for is that Alba will establish a short-term working group to examine the effectiveness of measures taken elsewhere to increase affordable housing opportunities in areas of high second home ownership, and develop policy to be presented at a future conference. We have a wealth of talent in our party, and if this motion passes, I would hope that a working group can be set up at the earliest stage possible to instruct all the councillors we're going to get elected in May to use the resources they get to research and advise the working group. Conference, this is only the start, but everything needs to start somewhere. Let's begin to tackle this housing emergency. Conference, I ask you to pass this motion.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Hector. And I call our final speaker, Derek.